Well, good morning, friends. It's time for our weekly Lenormand reading. Today is May 5th, the 5-5 portal. Fives indicate change. This year I'm 55, and I've experienced probably more change in my life than any previous year. We all kind of have our, the way we're used to doing things. And then all of a sudden, something can get uprooted and change is inevitable. But being able to adapt to that change and to do that from a space of, allowing and also, not being attached to the outcomes is probably going to get you through a little more easier, that unease feeling would subside a little bit more if you would just surrender and kind of go with the flow, okay? That's kind of my take on the 5-5. Also, there's 3D, there's 5D. 5D would be, more spiritually based. 3D is more earthly based. So, what's meant for us will find us, so let's just do our best, just keep marching forward. All right, friends, first card out is what Spirit would like to speak with us about. First card out is the coffin. The coffin has that, transformational feel to it. It also has a feeling of, being away. And then also, the main focus, I would say, after, laying out these cards, because I know that the coffin has several meanings, but the flowers are in the upper left-hand corner of this portrait, which means recovery. And then the coffin indicates transformation. And then the whip, the birch rod, that's challenge. Kind of like what I just described, the changes can be difficult, but, a lot of them can be rewarding and, even blessings in disguises. So, there is, the sun is right here, is in the bottom right, or not bottom right, but the last column to the right. And then the home would be all of your family, your friends, your close work environment, your people, okay? And then we've got the cross, the dog, and the gentleman. That would be, kind of that Christ consciousness feeling to it. That, the care that we have for our humankind, the love that we have, which, that Christ consciousness is what I would consider agape love. Agape love is the highest form of love. And care, kindness, that those energies are attached to this first portrait. Yeah, we have challenges. Yeah, we have things that we may not agree with. Yeah, we have things we don't like, but that offers a contrast to what we do like. And the feelings that we have those can be ever changing, yes. So kind of keep an open mind to things, okay? The other thing that I was going to point out was that, everybody experiences things a little differently. What I find enjoyable, somebody else may not. What somebody else finds enjoyable, I may not. So it's freedom, it's free choice, it's free will. That's what it's meant to be, a tolerance, maybe allowing, let go, all of those feelings, okay? But that cross is like, that, crucifixion type of a feel to it with that coffin. And, nobody should feel like they're being nailed to the cross, and, sometimes we get backed into a corner. Sometimes we're between a rock and hard spot. And sometimes, our convictions need to be, lighten the load a little, okay? Not be so rigid, not be so one-sided, back to fairness, okay? So, that's what this feels to me, this very first portrait. I probably could do a whole reading on it. But the flowers are there. The flowers are bright. They're cheerful. They're, springtime energy. They're gifts. They're appreciation, their invitations, and the rider is beneath that. So I feel like that's the arrival. It would be, bringing forth all of this new, fresh, vibrant energy. Okay, so that's our first portrait. I won't go so into detail on some of my others here. Then we've got the child, the tower, and then we have the fox, the snake, the heart, the birds, the ship, and the ring. That's that little, events or collaborations, and it would also be third-party involvements, shared spaces because of the garden. Then there's that snake. That snake can be a little deceiving. And, some things, like all that glitters is not gold feel to it. It could be, taking off your rose-colored glasses feel to it. But clarity is, give it time. And I feel like, you'll realize the higher significance or the higher importance, your angels, spirit guides, mentors, role models, people you look up to. Those are the people that I would go to for advice. Okay. Because the upper left-hand corner is the birds. But all we're here is, we're here having conversation in a shared space that's safe. Okay. So don't feel like, something might trigger you and you might, have issue. It's always best to be able to talk to someone. Okay. So don't let, your emotions, carry away with you. Okay. That's kind of how I feel like this portrait indicates. And then we've got the tree, the fish, the clover, the key, the lilies, the stars, the stork, the scythe, and the crossroads. More change. This is change. All three cards are in here. And that's, our lifestyles, our careers, our, the things that we go through, creates wisdom and the blessings that may come out of bad situations. The finances are kind of here with the fish, so I can't help but think that there might be some career moves that are going to provide growth and blessing, freedom, and multiple paths. Okay, once again, those crossroads are timelines. Times that we've already experienced that lead up to where we are today. So those, if you can turn your pain and suffering and trauma into strength and knowledge and a sense of freedom, okay? It's kind of like breaking the shackles, kind of a feel to it, with the change card and the scythe being in the upper left. It also has a little bit of uprooting feel to it, but it's very healing, and it promotes growth, and it promotes freedom, and it promotes financial stability in the career sector. And also it's longevity. Okay, so it's not just something that you're reaping now. It's something that is going to withstand the test of time, because the tree and the lily are both, they're the longevity types of cards. They're healing, and they're wise. It's your family roots, your ancestors. It's those feelings. So, the stars, that's, wish fulfillment. That stork is progress, and the fish is abundance. So, keep doing what you're doing, even if it feels uncomfortable. Change is inevitable. Try to roll with it, okay? And then the upper left-hand corner of the last portrait are the mice. Those little mice, they can be a little challenging, but it would just be your anxieties, a little bit of fear of the unknown. But once, I've said it before, if you can figure out a way to alchemize your anxieties into excitement, you're going to be, you're going to be able to handle situations a little better. Don't let your emotion get ahead of you again. Have courage. The middle card in the middle is the bear. So that's your, strength, it's your stability, security, safety, that mothering energy. And of course, Mother's Day is right around the corner. So that's probably why the bear is center focus in the last portrait. Okay. So I'm going to lay them out now. Let me just see what they may say for us there. That bottom left-hand corner is that cross. That cross, signifies karma, karmic, and it can also be your sense of responsibility. I always say when my kids were little, if the decisions that we're making are in the best interest of our children, then we know we're making the best choice. But sometimes those decisions can lead to consequences, karmic consequences. But I guess what you have to keep in mind is that you did the best you could with what you had at that time, that knowledge that you had at that time. But once you have life experience and you know better, you can do better, right? That's why the grandparents tend to be a little wiser, because they've kind of been through it all. So, okay, the upper left are those flowers. I love to see that. And then the mountain is the far right corner of the top row. I kind of feel like that is an invitation to go abroad, or an invitation to the mountains. That it has that feel to it, okay? But the mountain also is a higher perspective, okay? And a little bit of a leveling up feel to it as well, okay? Let's see, what else do I see here? Hey friends, I'm back. I'm so sorry. I had to interrupt our recording because my son Danny came for an unexpected visit, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time with him. So I apologize for having to stop the recording. But where I left off, I believe, is the flowers were to the upper left and the mountain was to the upper right. The bottom left is the cross and the bottom right is the lady. The other thing you may notice is I hung my my little chakra stones above my head because I thought it looked pretty silly. My pull down to my loft was dangling up there. But, the cross and the heart, those are very important cards. The things that bring you joy and passion and the love. And then with the cross, that unconditional love. That is, I believe, the message, okay? The pain and suffering that life brings us sometimes, and the change, the uncomfortableness. If we can just transmute that, integrate it, learn from it, and then transform and grow from it, that is our goal. That's the change, I think, that the 5-5 portal is trying to get us through. It's kind of like a rebirth, or giving the changes, bringing forth this positive, vibrant life. Okay, the stars are here in the conclusion, so that would be the things that are coming into fruition that are wish fulfillments. Okay, the tree, that feeling of the growth and the longevity and the roots. Before that is the change card, or the scythe, that has a feeling of being uprooted. But if you can roll with the changes, the tree doesn't get knocked down in the wind once it goes through all of the things that life has sustained it so far. And that's kind of what we just need to learn from, the adaptability, because when we're rigid, that's when we're going to experience some of that pain and the suffering, when in reality, some things happen for our greater good, for our highest and best. Okay. Now, the lily and the tree and the crossroads, that would be like, our lifestyles that we're going to, move in a direction. Which direction are we going? So I feel like there's a significant decision of a change that is going to change the course. Okay. And that would probably be where, that little bit of anxious comes from, because nobody wants to make the wrong decision, right? But in reality, I don't think any choice is a bad choice, or the wrong choice. And you're going to end up on your destination regardless, okay? So it's just basically how we perceive it, and it's kind of like, once you change your perspective, you will perceive things a little differently, okay? So try to transmute that nervous energy, fears, worries, the not so good feelings into, instead of what could go wrong, think of it as the best is yet to come, okay? The bear is in the center focus as well, which obviously, I feel like, the mother nurturer, Mother's Day feel to it. And then, the change card with the clouds kind of has that, the thoughts, that we're going through, is going to produce the change that we're going to see. So, the book, which I read daily, is Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. That kind of has that feel to it. The change of the weather can change. Things need, you need to adapt to whatever's going on, whether it's a career change, a relationship change, weather change, there's life has lots of challenges that can create, the obstacles and the delays, and the energy can get trapped and stuck. So do what you can to, get those things moving again, okay? If things seem to be a little slower, or, not progressing in the direction that you'd like to see it progress in, you may just need to tweak something, change a little something up, and then watch that energy will break free, okay? The bear and the fox, that could be a little bit of a challenge too, but I feel like, that's kind of like, collaboration, partnerships, and wise counsel. Okay. So the people that you surround yourself with, the healthier the conversations, the health, because the tree's there. I feel like those conversations are very good. And maybe, different solutions, that you could come up with. So I kind of feel like I'm just a little off kilter here because I was interrupted, but now that I was able to look at the cards a little bit more, I do see that there's some news coming in, and that we have some emotional, energies that we just need to kind of clear out. So, if you can start purging things, start with your mind first. If it's not something that serves you, try not to, give those intrusive thoughts any energy. But also, if you can purge the things that you don't use and put them into circulation for people who can use them, that's a nice way to transmute that energy as well. Okay. Well, folks, I feel like I kind of, covered all of my key points here. But if you would like a more personal reading, I would love to sit down with you. And in the meantime, take care. Have a wonderful Mother's Day for all the mothers out there. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.